Something absolutely sinister is happening in the bedroom with a narcissist that goes far beyond what you can imagine. This isn't just about physical pleasure. It's about systematically destroying your soul using the most intimate weapon that exists, your own body. They know exactly what they're doing. Every touch, every kiss, every moment of apparent passion is coldly calculated to pull you into an abyss of emotional dependency so deep that you can no longer distinguish true love from devastating manipulation. On the outside, they seem magnetic, seductive, irresistible. You see them and feel an almost primal attraction, as if an invisible force is pulling you toward them. But behind closed doors, the truth about their sexuality is more disturbing and cruel than any horror. Inspired by revolutionary research from Sigmund Freud, one of the world's greatest authorities in the field of narcissistic disorders, today I will reveal the 7 dirtiest sexual secrets that every narcissist hides at any cost. And when you discover these truths, you'll never be able to look at them the same way again. Prepare yourself, because what you'll hear in the following words may be extremely painful if you're experiencing this now, but it's absolutely essential for your emotional and sexual liberation. The first secret that every narcissist guards like a cursed treasure is this: they don't possess a true sexual identity. They're like vampires who drain and copy their victim's sexuality to create an irresistible persona. You know that feeling that they seem to know exactly your deepest desires from the first meeting, as if they were a sexual soulmate? Well, that wasn't a divine coincidence. It was meticulous study and calculated imitation. Narcissists are masters of observation and mirroring. During the first encounters, they study every one of your reactions with scientific precision. They notice how your breathing changes, which parts of your body are more sensitive, what words excite you, what fantasies make you blush. They create a detailed map of your sexuality, and then they do something diabolical. They reflect all of this back in an amplified form, as if it were their own sexual personality. They make you believe you found someone with supernatural sexual compatibility, when in reality, they're simply reflecting you back to yourself. That's why sex at the beginning seems so transcendent, so perfect, so different from anything I've ever experienced. Because technically, you're making love to an idealized version of yourself, created specifically to make you addicted. But here's the problem: because this sexuality isn't authentic, it isn't lasting. It's like a mask that slips over time. That's why passion inexplicably cools, intensity diminishes, and you wonder what you did wrong. The cruel truth is that you didn't do anything wrong. They simply stopped pretending to be who you needed them to be. The person you fell in love with sexually never really existed. What city are you watching this video from? Leave it in the comments. I love knowing how far this message reaches and connecting with you all, but if you think that's disturbing, wait until you discover the second secret. This second secret will make you rethink every intimate moment you've experienced with a narcissist. Prepare yourself. Your genuine pleasure, your authentic sexual satisfaction, poses a mortal threat to their fractured ego. Let me explain this very directly. For a healthy person, giving pleasure to their partner is a source of joy, connection, and mutual satisfaction. For a narcissist, it's a terrifying experience they avoid at all costs. Why? Because when you experience genuine pleasure, you temporarily escape their control. You connect with your own essence, with your own body, with your own ability to feel pleasure independent of external validation. And that terrifies them. A narcissist must always be the absolute center of everything. If you're lost in your own pleasure, focused on your own sensations, you're not focused on feeding their sick ego. And that's unbearable for them. So they develop subtle but devastating strategies to undermine your pleasure. They might interrupt the act at crucial moments with degrading comments. They might make you feel selfish for expressing your needs. They might criticize your moans, your facial expressions, your way of surrendering. Some use even crueler tactics. They make you feel guilty for taking a long time to climax, or criticize your body precisely in moments of greatest vulnerability. You're a bit saggy here. My ex was louder. You seem a bit disconnected. The goal is always the same: keep you insecure and focused on giving them pleasure instead of experiencing your own. They want you to be an instrument of sexual validation, not a partner with legitimate desires. And here's the most perverse part. When they consistently succeed in undermining your pleasure, you start believing the problem lies with you. That you're not good enough in bed, that you can't relax, that you have some sexual blockage. But the truth is that your pleasure is deliberately sabotaged by someone who perceives your sexual satisfaction as competition instead of celebration. If you've ever felt strangely tense or blocked sexually only with one specific person, you can be sure it wasn't your problem. The third secret is probably the most manipulative of all. Narcissists turn sex into a tool of behavioral conditioning. As if you were a laboratory animal being trained through rewards and punishments. When you behave well in their distorted vision, meaning when you're submissive, don't question, constantly feed their ego, sex flows. They're available, tender, seemingly interested. But the moment you express a need, establish a boundary, question inappropriate behavior, or simply show that you have an independent personality, sex disappears as if touched by a magic wand. I'm not talking about natural drops in libido or normal relationship problems. I'm talking about calculated and cold withdrawal of physical intimacy as a way of punishing you for daring to be human with your own needs. They create a cruel pattern where your personal dignity becomes incompatible with sexual intimacy. You learn subconsciously that to have access to the touch, tenderness, passion you crave, you must give up your voice, your boundaries, your authenticity. This is pure psychological conditioning, like giving a dog a treat when it sits and ignoring it when it barks. Except you're not an animal. You're a human being with the right to intimacy that isn't conditional on your silence. Some narcissists are even crueler in this manipulation. They initiate sexual contact exactly after a fight where they humiliated you, made you feel small, destroyed your self-esteem. When you still have red eyes from crying, when you're still trembling with rage or pain, and then they appear wanting intimacy as if nothing happened, as if your body were an object they could use to feel better, regardless of the crushed emotional state they left you in. If you refuse, because you're still processing the pain they caused you, you become the villain. You're the one using sex as a weapon. You're the one holding grudges. You're the one who can't forgive. But if you give in, because you're exhausted, because you want the coldness to end, because you've been manipulated into believing it's your duty, you feel used, emotionally violated, as if you've betrayed yourself. It's the perfect trap where every choice you make is wrong, and that's intentional. The fourth secret is a contradiction that will make your head spin. Narcissists are simultaneously sexually obsessive and completely incapable of true sexual satisfaction. It's as if they have an infinite hunger that can never be satisfied. Let me explain this disturbing dynamic. For a narcissist, particularly the somatic type, sex works like a drug. They need increasingly larger and more intense doses to feel anything approaching satisfaction. But here's the problem. Because they're incapable of true emotional connection, sex for them is always empty, always incomplete. It's like trying to quench thirst by drinking salt water. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. So they develop a sick obsession with novelty, increasingly extreme experiences, multiple partners, increasingly intense fetishes. Not because they're naturally adventurous people with high libidos, but because they're desperately trying to fill a void that sex cannot fill. And you become a victim of this insatiable hunger. It might be that they're too demanding about frequency, wanting sex even when you're clearly not emotionally available. They might pressure you into practices that make you uncomfortable, always wanting to spice things up. Or it might be the opposite. They might quickly become bored with you and start seeking sexual stimulation elsewhere. Compulsive pornography, sexual conversations with strangers on the internet, excessive flirting, or even cheating. The cruelest of all is that they make you believe the problem lies with you. You're not adventurous enough. You're too square. My ex was more open. You don't satisfy me like you used to. But the truth is that no one can satisfy a narcissist sexually because they're not really looking for sexual satisfaction. They're looking for an impossible cure for their existential emptiness through sex. It's like trying to treat depression with cocaine. It might give temporary relief, but the underlying problem is still there, requiring increasingly larger doses for the same effect. You could be the most devoted, creative, and available lover in the world, but it will never be enough, because what they need can't be found in your body or anyone's. It's in therapy they've refused, in inner work they don't want to do. Meanwhile, you exhaust yourself trying to be what they need, not realizing that what they need doesn't exist. This fifth secret will destroy any romantic illusions that might still remain about intimacy with a narcissist. Prepare your heart, because this hurts. Even in moments of greatest physical closeness, mentally, they're with another person. While you're there, completely present, vulnerable, devoted body and soul, they're fantasizing about the co-worker, about your best friend, about an ex they never got over, or about completely fictional characters. You know that distant look you sometimes noticed? That strange feeling that they were disconnected, even in the most intimate moments. That impression that they were looking through you instead of at you. You weren't being paranoid. You were perceiving a devastating reality. You were just a substitute body for their fantasies with other people. For a narcissist, you're not perceived as a complete human being during sex. You're props, scenery, a blow-up doll with consciousness. They can use your body, but their mind is elsewhere, with another person, living a different scenario. That's why many narcissist victims report feeling like ghosts in their own sexual relationship, as if they were physically present but emotionally invisible, as if they were being used instead of loved. And this isn't a passing phase or a specific problem, it's a constant dynamic. Because for a narcissist, true intimacy, really looking at you, being present with who you truly are, is terrifying. They prefer to live in fantasies where they have complete control. Some narcissists take this to even crueler extremes. They might call you the wrong name during sex. They might stubbornly keep their eyes closed so they don't have to look at you. They might demand positions where they don't have to see your face. Others are more subtle, but equally destructive. They make comments about how other women are sexy right after sex. They compare your body to actresses or models. They let details about sexual experiences with former partners slip out in the middle of the act. All of this serves to keep you insecure and aware that you're not special. You're not unique, you're not irreplaceable. You're just the person who's available at this moment to fulfill their fantasies with other people. Emotional and sexual betrayal happens even when they're with you physically. And this might be the most painful form of infidelity because you feel betrayed even when they're technically not doing anything wrong. The sixth secret is probably the most sinister of all. Narcissists deliberately create traumatic sexual experiences and then store them like trophies of power over you. Every time they manage to humiliate you, degrade you, or make you accept something that goes against your nature, they feel sadistic euphoria. Sigmund Freud documented this pattern in Malignant Narcissists. They need to constantly prove their absolute power over others, and sex is the most intimate battlefield possible. They start by testing your boundaries in seemingly innocent ways. Would you do this for me? If you really loved me, you'd agree. All modern women do this. They use emotional blackmail to make you accept practices that make you feel uncomfortable. And when you give in, whether out of love, fear of losing them, or emotional exhaustion, they don't feel gratitude or connection. They feel conquest. They feel they've gained another piece of your dignity to add to their collection. Every no that you turn into a yes against your will becomes a victory for them. Every boundary you break to please them becomes proof of the power they have over you. Every tear you swallow during a sexual act you didn't want becomes a trophy in their distorted mind. And here's the cruelest part. They store these memories not as moments of shared intimacy, but as evidence of their superiority. Remember that time when you cried but continued anyway? Remember when you said you'd never do that, but eventually you did? They use your own capitulations against you as if they were proof that you're weak, submissive, manipulable. As if the fact that you sacrificed yourself out of love was a character flaw instead of a demonstration of devotion they don't deserve. Some narcissists go to the point of photographing or filming these moments of vulnerability, always just for the two of you, but in reality to have material for future emotional blackmail or to feel powerful reliving their conquests. Others simply use intimate details as ammunition in future fights. You're the one who likes being treated that way. You've done much worse things. Don't play the saint now. This way they turn your moments of greatest vulnerability and sacrifice into weapons against you. Every time you gave yourself beyond your boundaries out of love, they catalogued it as another proof of the power they wield over your psyche. And most devastating of all, they make you believe you agreed to everything, when in reality you were forced, manipulated, emotionally blackmailed, until you broke your own self-preservation barriers. The seventh and final secret is the best kept of all, because it strikes at the heart of the toxic masculinity or femininity they've built. Most narcissists carry deep sexual shames and dysfunctions that they violently project onto their victims. This could be erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, inability to reach orgasm, unresolved sexual traumas, or simply pathological inability to emotionally connect during sex. But instead of dealing with these issues in a mature way, they do something diabolically cruel. They make you believe the problem lies with you. You don't turn me on anymore. You've gotten too fat. You don't know how to touch me. My exes were better in bed. You talk too much during sex. You're cold and passionless. Every dysfunction, every insecurity, every unprocessed sexual trauma magically becomes your fault. If he can't maintain an erection, it's because you're not attractive enough. If she can't reach orgasm, it's because you don't know how to satisfy a real woman. And the tactic is so effective that you really start believing. You start questioning your own sexual abilities, your attractiveness, your competence in bed. You might even start avoiding sexual intimacy because you feel inadequate. Many victims get to the point of having plastic surgery, extreme diets, or submitting to degrading sexual practices, all in desperate hope of recovering the passion the narcissist pretended at the beginning. But here's the liberating truth. The problem never lay with you. Their sexual dysfunction existed long before you appeared in their life and will exist long after you leave. The difference is that with the next victims, they'll use the same tactics, the same accusations, the same projections, because it's much easier to destroy someone's sexual self-esteem than to face your own limitations and seek professional help. Sigmund Freud observed that narcissists prefer to cause lasting psychological damage to many people, rather than admit to one vulnerability that threatens their grandiose self-image. So they create a destructive pattern. They seduce someone with intense passion, gradually undermine the person's sexual confidence through criticism and projections, use the created insecurity to maintain control, and when the victim is completely destroyed, they move on to the next one. And with each cycle, they accumulate more evidence that all women are sexually problematic, when in reality, they are the ones who are sexually and emotionally dysfunctional. The truth is that narcissists are bad lovers, not because they lack technique, but because they lack something fundamental: the ability to truly connect with another human being. Now that you know the 7 dirtiest secrets that every narcissist hides, it's important to understand what this reveals about their fundamental nature. Because when you understand the reality behind the mask, it becomes impossible to continue being a victim of manipulation. The first devastating truth is that narcissists are incapable of true intimacy. Everything you interpreted as passion, connection, or love was only imitation. They studied what you needed to hear, see, and feel, and reflected it back in amplified form until you became addicted to this false version of intimacy. The second truth is that they perceive sex as a battlefield, not as a space for connection. Every intimate encounter is an opportunity to exercise power, gather information for future use, or drain emotional energy from you. It's never about mutual pleasure or strengthening bonds. The third truth is that they are fundamentally empty people, trying to feel real through the impact they have on you. Your sexual pain, your insecurity, your emotional dependence, all of this makes them feel powerful and significant. You become a drug they use to escape their own existential emptiness. And here's the most liberating truth of all. Nothing you do or don't do can change this dynamic. There's not enough love, patience, or sacrifice that would transform a narcissist into a person capable of healthy intimacy. Their sexual and emotional dysfunction is structural, not circumstantial. It's not something they do, it's something they are. And while it may be painful to accept, this understanding is what will free you. When you stop trying to fix their sexuality and start protecting your own, when you stop accepting crumbs of affection and start demanding true intimacy, when you stop blaming yourself for their sexual problems and start recognizing projections for what they are, that's when you break the cycle. Healing isn't about understanding why they do these terrible things. Healing is about accepting that they do, that they always have and that they always will, and deciding that you deserve infinitely better. Your sexuality isn't broken. Your capacity for intimacy isn't flawed. Your attractiveness hasn't diminished. All of this was always intact, just temporarily obscured by the toxic fog they created around you. But now you know the truth. And truth, though painful, is always the first step to freedom. If you recognize these patterns in your life, leave a broken chain emoji in the comments. You don't need to explain anything more. That symbol will tell me you're ready to break free. After revealing these 7 devastating secrets, I want you to understand something fundamental. Knowing the truth is only the first step. The second step, and the most important, is using this knowledge to completely rebuild your sexual and emotional life. First, you must conduct a deep mental cleansing. All the criticisms they directed at your body, your performance, your sexuality, all of this must be identified as toxic garbage and rejected. These weren't valid opinions about you. They were projections of their own insecurities. Second, you must rediscover your own authentic sexuality. Away from their expectations, their pressure, their conditioning, you must reconnect with your own desires, your own boundaries, your own pleasures. This may take time, and that's okay. Third, you must establish new standards for intimacy. Never again accept sex as a medium of exchange. Never again tolerate criticism of your body during intimate moments. Never again allow anyone to use your sexual vulnerability against you. Healthy intimacy exists. Partners who see you as a complete human being exist. Sex based on mutual respect, genuine presence, and shared pleasure exists. You're not doomed to repeat toxic patterns forever. But to attract this, you must first heal the wounds they opened. You must work on your sexual self-esteem, establish unbreakable boundaries, and learn to recognize red flags from the very beginning. Sigmund Freud always emphasized that recovery from narcissistic abuse is possible, but requires active engagement in your own healing. This won't happen automatically. You must make a conscious decision to rebuild yourself. And remember, every day you spend in a sexually toxic relationship is one less day in the full and healthy life you deserve. There's no shame in leaving. There's no failure in choosing your well-being. There's only courage in prioritizing your dignity. If this video resonated with your experience, share it with other people who might be going through the same thing. Your courage in speaking about this could be the light someone needs to find their way out. Subscribe to this channel right now. Every week we reveal new tactics of emotional manipulators so you can protect yourself and help others protect themselves. Activate the bell so you don't miss any content. And always remember, you're not responsible for fixing someone's broken sexuality. You're only responsible for protecting and honoring your own. Your journey to liberation starts now, and I'll be here with every new video, giving you the tools you need to build a truly free and full emotional and sexual life. Until the next video, where we'll unmask more tactics of these emotional predators. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Never forget that.